Hey guys, today we're going to talk about advice on asking for advice. I got the inspiration to write about this particular topic and turn it into a video from this guy called Mozart. Mozart is one of the best music composers of Europe's classical period. He composes hundreds of pieces of music in his time, many of which survive and are considered to be masterpieces today. There's a story about him that goes like this. A young man around 25 years old goes to Mozart and asks him, how do I write a symphony? How do I write a song? Mozart tells him that he's too young to write symphonies. The young man gets confused and he reminds Mozart that Mozart himself had been writing symphonies since he was about 10 years old. To which Mozart replies, yes, but I wasn't asking anyone for advice. This story as a whole actually has a lot of good sub advice on asking for advice. So let me get into those. First of all, stop asking experts basic questions. Okay, don't ask someone who's an expert a basic question, especially if you can just Google it, because you will not get a straight answer. What will happen is that you will just annoy that person. Think of it like this: if you go to a master chef, okay, someone who's really good at cooking, and then you start bugging them with, how do I cut an apple? Or how do I cut a ladyfinger? They will not give you a straight answer because it's a dumb question, right? You can just go in Google or ChatGPT or anywhere else, type that question in, watch a video of how to do it, and you would get a proper answer. You are essentially wasting an expert's time by asking them something stupid. If you're asking for basic, non specific advice, you likely don't have what it takes. And this is something that a lot of people find it annoying when I tell this to them when they ask me something stupid and non specific. So let me tell you like a basic truth. People who succeed figure out the basics by themselves. When they ask a question, their question is not something like, how do I use a computer or which programming language should I learn? Their questions are specific about something that is actually hard to figure out. It shows that they've done some amount of research and they've put some amount of effort into it. They've done the basics by themselves. And now they have a question that's actually genuinely difficult to figure out. And that's why they've come to you, as opposed to them just asking you something stupid that they can just figure out by themselves. People who are successful figure out the basics by themselves. Figuring out the basics is not hard. If you are asking anybody for basic, non specific advice, especially in today's world, it's because you're an idiot, you're a low IQ person who simply does not want to do the work. You don't have what it takes. And if you're doing this, the probability of you being successful in the future is very low. Thirdly, if you want to do something, just do it. Asking for advice is often people just asking for permission. Okay, if you're asking for permission, you don't have what it takes to be successful. Now, what does this look like? This typically looks like this. Oh, so Harsh, do you think I should lose weight? Everybody knows if they're fat, they gotta lose weight. Someone who's asking you this is essentially asking you for permission, okay? They're essentially not willing to do the work. So, what they're doing is that they are asking you for advice in a way that allows them to stall. Because when they ask for something, they get to pretend like they do not know what they need to do. So they can do nothing and not feel bad about it. Everybody knows they should lose weight, they should go to the gym, etc. etc. They don't really need to ask for this. When they're doing it, they're basically asking for permission and they're essentially giving themselves permission to not do anything until they get an answer. So they're losers. That's the simple way of putting it. Everyone who went to the top just figured it out on the way. There is no structured path to the top. Okay. It is a stairway in the sense that you have to take one step at a time, but it doesn't look like this. It's not linear. It looks like this. Okay. You gotta jump through a few hoops here and there and figure it out. No one knows everything when they get started. No one knows Okay, this is the third step. They know the first step. Then when they take the first step, the second step becomes visible. Then the third step become visible, etc. They can't see the last steps when they're starting out. No one knows everything when they're starting out. They're figuring it out as they go along. And that's just a natural trajectory of any successful person. It's not like they plan everything and they just go through it step by step. It doesn't exist. What they do is they do something, they come into some problems, they solve that problem, then they do the next thing. And they solve whatever obstacles they find over there, then they do the next thing, etc., etc., etc. You will have more luck drawing a painting and asking people if they want to buy it than if you ask people, should I make a painting? And the reason for this is that most people can't recognize talent when they see it. Most people have a poor eye for talent. And the only way you can know whether or not you will be successful is to give it a shot. And this includes everybody, okay? It includes your mom and dad. So, your mom and dad, even though unlike most other people, they actually care about you, their end goal is that they want you to be safe, okay? They want you to do safe things. They don't want you to do risky things. If you take risks, you might fail, you might get injured, you might get hurt, and most parents don't want that to happen to you. So, for example, if you go to your mom and dad and say, hey, should I start selling paintings to make money instead of working a job? The probability that your mom and dad are going to say yes to that is very low because this is essentially a very high risk business. Selling art is high risk because most artists don't get it. They don't make sales, they don't make that much money, etc. Same with being a sportsman. It's a winner takes all game. So everybody, including your parents, they want you to be safe. If you want to do something risky, you have to do it without encouragement and support. And this is not because your parents are bad. If once you have a kid, you will think the same way. You want your kid to do well. You want your kid to be safe. You don't want your kid getting hurt. You don't want your kid failing in life. So you don't want your kid taking risks that would give them a likelihood of failing in life. So it's simply the nature of being a parent. Even though they care about you, your safety is their number one priority. However, the silver lining is that once you succeed, encouragement and support will be given to you regardless of anything else because everybody wants to be on the winning side. So I'll tell you what, when I started my first businesses, a lot of people thought that I was crazy, right? How can you make money online? You don't even speak good English. You live in India, etc., etc. How could you do it? You have no background in marketing. How can you be an affiliate marketer, etc., etc. So I had a lot of people tell me that I couldn't do it. And over the years, I made millions and millions of dollars from the internet. What I make in a month is more than what most people make in a year, even in first world countries. And what I make in a year is more than what most people would spend in like 15, 20, 30 years. So I make more than most people can ever hope to make. And I'm not saying that as like bragging. I'm just telling you that simply as a fact of my own trajectory of life. When I was 18-ish years old, I used to work a job that used to pay $150 a month. And I used to work about 12, 13 hours a day. And if you count the commute, it was almost like 16 hours because I was waking up at 7 and I was coming home at about 10, sometimes 11, and sometimes it would even be like 2 a.m. So it was a lot of work for $150 a day. And I was surrounded by people who are making like 150, 200, 300, $400 a month. So I was surrounded by people of this type. Once I'm successful, sometimes I've bumped into these guys later on and they're like, oh yeah, I always knew you would make it. You always had what it takes. You were smarter than everybody else. Like, where was all this encouragement when I needed it? So once you succeed, encouragement and support will be given to you because everybody wants to be friends with the successful. Everybody wants to be friends with people who are connected and doing well because they want to be on the winning side. So don't worry about not getting encouragement from anybody, including your parents right now. If and when you become successful, you will get so much encouragement and support. You will not know what to do with it. And essentially, you would have the opposite problem where you would have to take care that you don't let your head swell up and let yourself think that you've become some big, rich merchant, even though you have still a lot to learn. You got to remember that pride comes before a fall. Okay. Pride comes before a fall. Okay. So, that all being said, if you need encouragement to start a business, you should probably do something else because you're not going to make it. You have to remember that building a business or pretty much any new thing that you do, it's likely going to be a lonely journey, especially in the beginning. And if you need encouragement to do these things, the probability of you following through and actually making it are very low. What will happen is that you are going to start, you will not see any results for the first few months. You will give in because you are not able to push yourself with your own encouragement, with your own motivation. Because other people's motivation isn't there yet, or other people are not pushing you yet. So you will just give up and then go back to your old life and become a bitter person, thinking that everybody's scamming out there and it's impossible to be successful, etc., etc. So if you need other people's encouragement to do something, you are born to fail and you should probably do something else that is safer, work a job or something like that. And I'm not saying that as an insult. It's not like I'm getting some entertainment by mocking people of this type. I'm just telling you that as a fact. I've seen it happen to so many people. People who can't push themselves even when other people don't believe in them essentially cannot succeed because in the modern world, the amount of competition is pretty high. You are competing with people who are self driven. And if you are not self driven, even though you might be smarter than them, you will simply not be able to work the amount of hours and put in the amount of focus that is necessary to be successful. It is what it is. Now, if you want to learn something, don't ask for advice. And this kind of sounds like the opposite of what you should do. But what you gotta actually do is you need to do some research by yourself. You could watch some YouTube videos, buy a course from an expert, read a book on that topic. And after you do these things, after you spend 30, 40 hours researching something, if you still can't figure it out, if you still can't answer whatever question you need answered, then you can ask. Then you will be taken seriously by the expert because then you will have the background knowledge necessary to demonstrate that you've done some amount of research. So, to give you an example, I had a cousin ask me how to build a niche site, okay? Because my uncle told him that I have a niche side business. So even though I don't have a niche side business anymore, given that I'm not actively building any more niche sites, I think that AI is going to take over this entire thing. The guy, he's asking me, first of all, his question is, what is a niche site? And I'm like, I couldn't answer that with a straight face because this is something you should have Googled, right? And then he's asking me, how do you build a website? And this is again something he should figure out by himself. Then I'm telling him WordPress. What is WordPress? And he's acting as if I'm his private tutor. I'm supposed to spend 30 hours teaching him everything from scratch. And I told him, look, you gotta watch some YouTube videos. How about you build a niche site first? How about you build something first and then get back to me and I will tell you how you can improve it and how you can make more money from it, etc. And the guy never got back to me. And that kind of brings me to my final point. The average person is a time waster who's always asking questions but is never taking any action. They will ask 10,000 questions, okay? They'll ask you every little thing. Oh, what is WordPress? Oh, how do you track clicks? How does Google Analytics works? How about ad blockers? Blah, 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 right? How do you pay taxes? They're going to waste their time asking 10,000 questions, but they will never take action. The moment I ask this guy to do some of his own research and build a niche site, and then I will improve it for him, I'll show him exactly what he needs to do to make it better. He disappeared, right? I never got any response from him after that. He never showed me any niche site because he was never willing to take any action. All he wanted to do was waste my time by asking me 10,000 questions. And what that would do is that it would make him feel as if he was productive. He was not actually productive in the sense he didn't actually do anything. But by asking questions, what people do is that they get the feeling of being productive. They get the feeling they're doing something because, quote unquote, they have learned something, even though they never have an intention of using that knowledge. And if you've ever worked in sales, if someone has worked in sales and you're watching this, I'm sure you are nodding in agreement. Okay, I can see you guys already, because anyone who's worked in sales for even 2 days, they know this. The guy who shows up and asks like a 10,000 question questionnaire to you, and he wastes like 3 hours of your time on all of his questions, that guy never buys. For some reason, that guy never makes a purchase. He just wastes your time. And that's what a lot of average people do as well. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed watching it, you're gonna love reading my books. The 3 books I recommend most young men check out are How to Be More Attractive to Women. So if you have trouble attracting women, getting first dates, second dates, etc., this is the right book for you. Read it, it's gonna change your life. The second book I recommend is 25 Myths Men in Their 20s Have About the World. So if you are someone in your 20s and you want to get ahead in life, read this book. It's going to show you what mistakes other men make so that you can avoid making the same mistakes. And thirdly, I recommend checking out the 55 essays by Corporate Machiavelli. He's a friend of mine who died, so I've preserved his work in this book. It's a treatise on how to succeed in the corporate world. So if you have a job and you want to succeed in the corporate world, you need to learn how to do office politics, how to defend yourself against people who are trying to hurt you, etc., etc., how to manage your relationships with your boss, your juniors, your subordinates, etc., etc. Get this book. So thank you for watching. Subscribe to me for more videos and read my books. I'm telling you, they're going to change your life.